Criminal and Civil Procedures module. There are 9 lessons with their corresponding desired objectives to be achieved by participants within this module. At the end of these short lessons, participants should be familiar with the basic factual information applicable to criminal and civil procedures in the United States as well as the state of Ohio. Of course, we have to have a disclaimer, right? All the information provided in these short lessons is publicly available and provides a simplified view of criminal and civil procedures in the state of Ohio for participants to gain a basic understanding. Remember, procedures vary across jurisdictions, so it is important to always check the steps in the process in the jurisdiction you are working. This information is not intended to be construed as legal advice. Participants will also be able to identify key concepts along with their corresponding legal terminology and know how to use them appropriately. Participants will also be provided resources to complete the individual assignments and are encouraged to use the same to build personal glossaries by incorporating the legal terminology used in these lessons so they can interpret them correctly and use them appropriately into their working languages. Lesson 6. Juvenile Courts, or the Juvenile Division in Ohio. The objective here is for participants to gain a basic understanding of the structure and work of the Juvenile Division in Ohio. What is the general purpose of the juvenile court? Ideally, the juvenile justice systems were developed to protect the rights of a minor, protect the best interest of a child, provide rehabilitation, or provide treatment instead of merely seeking punishment. There are several juvenile system contact points where minors can engage with the system. In Ohio, the system contact points that offer different services according to the Ohio Juvenile Justice Alliance are prevention programs, diversion programs, detention, community-based alternatives, community corrections facilities, juvenile correctional facilities, parole and probation, re-entry, and even the adult system. For more information, you can go directly to their website and research their fact sheets. Let's go back to how the juvenile system in Ohio works. Remember the structure of the court system in Ohio provided back in Lesson 2? Basically, in Ohio, the juvenile court is a division within the Court of Common Pleas that has the jurisdiction to hear all matters involving juveniles, children under 18, offenses they commit, also known as delinquency, and they will also hear specific family matters such as paternity actions, child abuse or neglect, custody and child support, just to name a few of the other types of cases heard in juvenile courts. Each juvenile court provides a series of services, and going directly to the source is usually the best way to get the information one needs, right? Whenever someone wants to know about the services provided by any given court, going directly to take a quick look at that court's website is an invaluable resource. For example, if you go to the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas, Division of Domestic Relations and Juvenile Branch website, you will see that some of the services available are probation, detention, protection orders for child and juvenile, youth education and intervention services, and mediation services. Of course, in this short lesson, it is not possible to go into extensive detail about all the services available, so you will have to do more research on your own. Most often, juveniles first enter the system because the minor committed an offense. So what happens next? The obvious answer is that now said minor is going to get processed accordingly. As interpreters, we're always concerned about terminology, so let us first look at what is meant when we hear the term delinquent. The definition provided by the C&O Legal Glossary states, delinquent as the finding made in a juvenile case that a child has violated a law or ordinance. The term is used instead of guilty, which applies to proceedings involving adults. However, a more comprehensive definition is provided by the Ohio Revised Code. You can go directly to the Ohio Revised Code, Section 2152, period 02, for the specific definitions for delinquent child. Let us now look at a general diagram of how the juvenile system works. This is a general flowchart from the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention to illustrate the process. Remember, because the way each state processes law violators is unique, the way the process works in Ohio may not be exactly the same. Once again, one would have to first check the Ohio Revised Code for a comprehensive description and definitions applicable to the juvenile justice systems and how the process will work in each of the 88 counties. Remember, not every minor who commits an offense ends up in the juvenile justice system. However, for those who do, here is a simplified explanation of the process. If law enforcement officers place the minor under arrest, the case is then referred to juvenile court. Once it's referred to juvenile court, the case can be handled either informally or formally, also known as petition the case, which is when formal charges are filed. Then, considerations on how to proceed will take place. Some of the considerations on how to proceed are the age of the juvenile, the severity of the offense, prior history of the juvenile, available evidence, family ties, can the case be dismissed, and lastly, a decision to proceed informally or formally will take place. If the decision is to proceed informally, and the prosecutor or the probation officer is the one who makes that decision, the juvenile must appear before a presiding officer even if no formal charges are entered. The juvenile will follow whatever required actions were decided, such as perform community service or pay a fine. If abuse or neglect is suspected, the judge may initiate a separate process. If a formal proceeding will take place, the prosecutor or probation officer decides to proceed formally or petition the case, and the juvenile is formally charged or arraigned. The judge can then decide to send the juvenile to adult criminal court. If the case remains in juvenile court, it can be addressed several ways. The juvenile enters a plea agreement, the judge diverts the case, or the judge will hold an adjudicatory hearing, which is the delinquency ruling. The disposition of the case might go as follows. There is a delinquency ruling by the judge, and counseling is ordered, confinement in a juvenile detention or corrections facility is ordered, restitution for the victim is ordered, or probation is ordered. The judge could also order a post-disposition hearing to monitor the juvenile's behavior and progress. In Lesson 6, the key points to remember are the general purpose of juvenile courts, the division juvenile courts fall under in Ohio, the jurisdiction of juvenile courts, services provided by juvenile courts, and the steps in the juvenile justice system process. Individual activity. Complete the exercise, which is a mix and match worksheet, and review the sample forms provided to practice the different interpreting modes. End of Lesson 6.